What made the final scene of the Blair Witch Project so terrifying? There's no blood, no monster, no jump scare. Just a frantic search through a crumbling house, a glimpse of something horribly wrong, and then silence. It's a masterclass in psychological horror, leaving us with more questions than answers and an image that lingers long after the screen goes black. But how did this one moment in a low-budget indie film spark the entire found footage genre of movies? Directed by Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez, this 1999 indie horror film did something no horror movie had ever done before. It blurred the lines between fiction and reality so well that people actually believed it was real. Another highlight was the film's genius marketing campaign that made some believe that the main actors had actually gone missing in the haunted woods. The plot is quite simple. 3 student filmmakers venture into the deep, creepy forests of Burkittsville, Maryland to make a documentary about the legend of the Blair Witch. But as they go deeper into the woods, things start to go horribly wrong. Strange noises at night, creepy wooden stick figures hanging from trees, and mysterious disappearances slowly turn their documentary into a real-life nightmare. We never actually see the Blair Witch, and yet, by the time the film ends, you feel like you've seen something horrifying. The final scene in particular is one of the most unsettling endings in horror history. So if you're looking for a realistic horror movie without any cringe jump scares or background music, then the Blair Witch is a perfect experience for you. And if you want to see more horror movie scene breakdowns, subscribe to the channel and stay up to date with our weekly videos. The movie doesn't start or flow like a regular one. Instead, it's a collection of raw footage that is apparently recorded by 3 characters. It starts like a real documentary, introducing us to a girl named Heather, his male friend Josh, and Mike, who was invited by Josh while Heather never met him before. These 3 young filmmakers set out to Burkittsville, Maryland to make a film about a mysterious legend. The most interesting part is that the legend involves a supernatural creature termed as the Blair Witch. The group is armed with 2 cameras, a load of camping gear, and plenty of confidence. Heather is the one who planned this journey, and she was the one who really wanted to make this film to kickstart her career. Josh is just there because Heather needed a cameraman and a traveling partner, while Mike joined in as the sound expert. In the initial scenes, Heather explains that the Blair Witch is an old legend that terrorizes the locals. She even interviews some of them, who reveal that the witch was a mysterious woman named Ellie Kedward. She was accused of kidnapping and harming children in the 1700s, so the townspeople tied her to a tree and left her to die in the freezing winter. Since then, strange things have happened in the woods, and people have gone missing under mysterious circumstances. One woman claims she saw the witch when she was a child. It was a pale, ghostly woman covered in a black fur. Another tells the story of Rustin Parr, a hermit who lured children into his house in the forest. He killed almost 7 kids, but in a special way. He made one kid stand in the corner while he killed the others, and then repeated the process. Even after this creepy information, the trio still continues their journey and heads into the Black Hills forest. Of course, they're not interested in meeting the witch, but a documentary of the haunted forest will be enough to gain attention. At first, things seem fine. The group hikes through the dense woods, joking around and filming everything. They even visit the places where people are reported to be killed, but the dead bodies were never discovered. The group seems to be enjoying their little adventure, but then things start going wrong. The trio is slowly getting closer to the creepy ending that shocked every horror movie lover. As the night sets in, the group sets up camp to rest, but they start to hear strange sounds coming from the darkness. Branches snapping, distant footsteps, and whispers they can't quite make out. At first, they brush it off, assuming that it could just be some wild animals, but their opinion changes really soon. The next morning, they wake up to find small piles of rocks arranged around their tent. It's subtle, but unsettling because a wild animal can't do such a thing. It was someone or something near their tent while they were sleeping. The group then decides to go back home, but they're lost in the woods. Heather was fully prepared for the journey and even brought a map, but somehow it got lost all of a sudden. Heather starts blaming Josh because she remembers giving him the map, but Josh refuses to accept it. Later, it was discovered that Mike threw away the map just for fun. After arguing for a while, they decide to use the compass to find their way back to their car. However, they end up walking in circles until it gets dark. From here, things go from bad to worse. Their tent gets attacked by someone, making the group take shelter in the forest. The next morning, they return to the campsite and find their belongings in a mess. The worst has happened to Josh's equipment that is somehow covered in slime. The fear is setting in, and now Heather and the boys just want to leave the forest as soon as possible, but fate has stored something else for them. The next day, Josh mysteriously disappears. Heather and Mike search for him, screaming his name into the trees, but there's no sign of him. Then, at night, they hear something truly terrifying. Josh's voice screaming in the distance. It sounds like he's suffering in pain. While following the noises, Heather discovers a bundle of sticks tied together with fabric. Inside is a piece of Josh's bloody shirt, some teeth, and possibly his tongue. Heather breaks down completely, sobbing uncontrollably, but doesn't tell Mike about the discovery. However, Heather has already accepted that they are not going to get out of the forest alive. The thing that kidnapped Josh will definitely come after them too. The camera rolls may survive, so Heather decides to record a goodbye message. She also apologizes to Mike and Josh's families and takes all the blame for getting them in this danger. When all hopes are lost, they hear Josh's voice again in the middle of the night. Mike takes the lead and Heather follows him until they reach an abandoned house. There comes a legendary ending scene that went viral and caused a global terror. After entering the house, all we can see is Heather and Mike desperately running here and there trying to find Josh. Meanwhile, we can occasionally hear Josh's voice calling for help. Mike runs upstairs to check, but he realizes that the sounds are actually coming from the basement. After sharing this information with Heather, Mike doesn't wait for her to follow and runs to the basement by himself. He doesn't find Josh there, but someone attacks him and the camera falls to the ground. After a while, Heather finally reaches the basement, but surprisingly finds Mike standing quietly in a corner. She keeps calling him and asks him what happened, but Mike doesn't respond at all. Heather keeps crying and shouting in fear until someone attacks her too. The camera falls down and the movie ends here. The most plausible explanation here is recalling the hermit story told by the locals. The hermit used to kill children by making one of them stand in the corner. This time, it was Mike's turn to stand in the corner while the hermit killed poor Heather. Or can we also relate it to the rumored witch? She might be the one killing everybody by possessing others' bodies like the hermits. But what made this scene a true game changer is not the explanation, it's the impact it left on the audience. Since the director didn't explain the origin of the movie and all the actors were newbies, the audience started to believe that the last footage was real. They even started to research the Blair Witch legend and the forest associated with it. But sorry to burst the bubble here, but nothing about this movie was real at all. The film producer planned everything very cleverly. He used some sick marketing techniques to make this movie reach as many people as possible. There were hundreds more fake murder reports posted on the internet, and they all took place in the mysterious forest. Moreover, a copy of Heather's journal was also shared, which was supposedly found in the forest. In the journal, everyday experience of their journey was written from Heather's perspective, and this made the audience lose their senses. People in the 90s were gullible enough to believe everything on the internet, and even started to send condolences to the families of the fake victims. The truth was revealed later on, but the scene is still iconic. No witch, ghost, or blood was shown, but Heather's desperate screams and the way Mike froze in the corner is enough to send chills down your spine. The best thing about the movie is how the producer earned millions just by putting around $200,000 in the movie. There were just 3 actors, 2 cameras, and a random forest. They didn't even bother to edit much, as the raw footage was more appealing. Another highlight of the movie is the amount of unscripted scenes. The actors were never given a complete script, and they were doing whatever the director asked. The best part is that they also didn't know the Blair Witch legend is made up. The locals were secretly paid to tell creepy stories to the actors, and they were actually reluctant to enter the forest. Most of their scared reactions were real, and that's what made this movie so iconic. After discovering the truth, the audience watched the movie again and figured out the shocking turn. Actually, the movie wasn't about anything supernatural. It was a crime story in which 2 boys planned to kill Heather by luring her into the abandoned house. In one of the videos, Heather mentions that no one in their families actually knew about their journey. This means no one will suspect the boys if she goes missing. Think for yourself. Why did the 2 boys work for Heather's documentary for free? Especially Mike, who doesn't even know her. Secondly, they threw away the map, and Josh was the only one who actually heard the noises at night and made Heather believe that there is actually a witch out there somewhere nearby. Lastly, Mike's behavior in the ending scene was really suspicious. He took the lead towards the abandoned, which was quite out of his character. Then, he unnecessarily went upstairs while the noises were coming from the basement. The only explanation here is that he tried to buy time for Josh to take his position, and as soon as Heather entered the basement, Josh might have hit her from the back. Anyway, whatever the real story was, the Blair Witch Project is still a legend and impressed every horror movie fan. I suggest you give it a watch and figure out the story for yourself. If you've already seen it, let me know your thoughts. Did the ending creep you out as much, and what do you think about this famous theory? Let's talk in the comments.